Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Daniel Hodgson. We warmly welcome the family of Pilot Officer Frederick John Newton, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Thomas Hitchler, Parliamentary State Secretary to the Federal Minister of Defence, Germany, and Miss Lucy Ryan, Corporate Vice President Communications of Northrop Grumman. We warmly welcome Wing Commander Lance Halverson, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Pilot Officer Frederick John Newton. Frederick Newton was born on the 3rd of February 1921 in Chillagoe, Queensland, the second son and third child of Frederick and Mary Newton. Known as Jack, he grew up in Cairns before the family moved to Boulder in Western Australia. In Western Australia, Newton worked as a motor attendant, as well as surveying for the Boulder Perseverance gold mine. In November 1941, Newton married Millicent, who was known by her middle name of Joan. A daughter, Jacqueline, was born to the couple on the 2nd of April 1942. In November Jack Newton enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force Reserve in May 1942. Called up in November, the 21-year-old enlisted in the RAF on the 2nd of November 1942. He had been in an infantry training battalion before enlisting and was discharged to the RAF. After initial training school, Newton began training as a pilot, attending elementary flight training school and then service flight training school at Geraldton. On the 4th of November 1943, Newton embarked at Sydney for overseas service. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners, and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Arriving in England in December, Newton was transferred to Number 84 Operational Training Unit, based at RAF Desborough in Northamptonshire. As part of Bomber Command, the unit trained night bomber crews. In mid-March 1945, Newton was posted to 15 Squadron RAF, which flew Lancaster heavy bombers as part of Bomber Command. On the 22nd of March, Newton was the pilot of Lancaster Hotel Kilo 773, which took off from RAF Mildenhall just before 11 a.m. to attack Bocholt, a city in northwest Germany. Shortly after takeoff, the aircraft's port outer engine feathered and caught fire. The aircraft gradually lost height before striking the ground in dense wood in Norfolk, at which point the 4,000-pound bomb on board exploded, killing all the crew members. Royal Air Force Sergeants D, Church, Matthews, Cope, Pooley, Jenkins, and Pilot Officer Jack Newton, who was 24 years old. Their remains were buried in the Cambridge City Cemetery on the 28th of March, 1945. They were the last fatalities of 15 Squadron during the war. Jack Newton's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of Jack Newton alongside his wife Joan and daughter Jacqueline is displayed by the Pool of Reflection. Jacqueline is here with us today to commemorate her father. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Pilot Officer Frederick John Newton, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.